So look, we're talking about redefining payments, and we are all focused on money movement, and it's really exciting to see the type of projects that you guys are working on. And when I think about things that are really important here, I mean, I would love to understand from you, when you look at how people move money day to day at a global scale, what feels most outdated, and what's the pain point that has led you or your project into redefining everyday payments? Rodri, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, so I would say two things. The first one is cross-border money movement clearly is very siloed and inefficient. Things are slow, take time, and they're expensive, as everyone knows. But then there is a second thing that I think is pretty important, which is, there's billions of people today around the world who live in places where they're stuck with currencies that devaluate, depreciate, inflation skyrockets, they don't have access to proper financial products. And when you put all of those things together, it means that these billions of people don't have a chance to actually build towards economic freedom. And I think that stablecoins present such an amazing opportunity to fix all of those things that when you put them together, it's going to make the world such a much better place for so many people all around the world.
Yeah, and I would add to this. I mean, it's amazing what you can do when you put payments on chain. And I think in addition to it, there comes the point of today, at least we still need to get the money out of the stablecoin into the real world so that they can use it. And especially now where you're earning globally and the traditional rails are just not supporting the way people live anymore, you still need to get it off the chain and back into the economy, at least today. And that's also where Airtm comes in, having this last mile infrastructure to support over 500 methods.
That's phenomenal. Josh, anything to add on your end?
I guess this is a little more wonky, but I think settlement times, and what I mean by that is, I'm sort of two people. I'm me at work and I'm me as a consumer. As a consumer, it's well, everything's instant. Why wouldn't I just have my money all of the time? And then I see things at work and behind the scenes, we've got this MoneyGram, this giant treasury infrastructure where there's money moving all over the world. And there's moments where we're waiting for the wire to land.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah. Was it thrown over? What do you mean? Yeah. And so there's this strange moment where you're I guess I know that's exactly, I'm literally an expert in this, but it's crazy to me that it takes time for it to land versus just it's there. Yeah. So anyway, so I think that's the part that still throws me off, settlement times.
Yeah, and we as a foundation work with an incredibly global set of partners, and I am curious from in this room, how many of you have tried to send a remittance and it's taken more than 2 days to settle? Yeah, I'd say the answer for those on the internet is everybody. Okay.
All 700,000 people in the room.
All 700,000 people in the room. Actually, well, we had to turn away 100,000, so it would have been 8. Okay, so Sarah, maybe actually I'll turn to you. I think Airtm was recently highlighted in a Stanford research paper showing that 96% of Airtm stablecoin transactions settle in under 1 hour. Phenomenal. I mean, can you share more on why this level of settlement reliability matters and kind of how it reshapes the way people and businesses are moving money?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Roger. First of all, what's really interesting is that this was a study that benchmarked our 40 million payments of Airtm over the last 4 years against the G20 goal for 2030. And we got the 96% or over 96% settlement under an hour, and the goal was 75. And we hit that goal almost 10 years early, which is unheard of. And this goes to show again, what can happen when you put payments on rails. But then again, you have this last mile delivery that really helps us to settle so quickly. And it matters because you already brought it up as well, but beyond remittances, in our space, we are more focused on the online worker, whether that's freelancers, content creators, other remote workers. They need the income, they need it quickly. You talked about it, Josh, and it's not discretionary spend. They need it fast, and they need it predictably fast. And in addition, it opens up a whole new economy. So half of our enterprise payments are actually micropayments, which before it's a little related, adjacent to the study, but which are not even possible with the fixed fee structure, which absorbs it. And then for businesses, it helps them to ensure that you can quickly and scalably pay the global south.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this idea of being able to do this incredibly fast settlement, but solve that last mile, I think, is so critical. I know, MoneyGram also focuses on this, and I'll come to that question in a minute. I think maybe as a lead up to that question, actually, Rodri, I'd love to maybe talk to you a little bit about, some of the work you guys have been doing. I mean, it's really phenomenal. But you've been making digital assets more accessible for mainstream users and businesses. When you think about it, like, what are the gaps that you see in the payment ecosystem? Well, one, that made it obvious to build on Stellar, since we're in our house. But like, how is Crossmint helping, kind of others improve that everyday payment experience?
Yeah, so there are two problems on both sides. On the one hand, building products on blockchain is pretty hard historically, right? If you're an enterprise or a startup and you're looking to integrate stablecoins, you need to put together like 10 different pieces and then build a blockchain engineering team and try to figure it out. Or that was the case at least until a few years ago. And there's been so many advances in developer infrastructure over the last few years that now make it extremely easy. And so we see startups that, they go from zero to having a POC in a matter of days, and then enterprises were able to go live in a couple of months, going from zero with almost no blockchain engineering team or no blockchain engineering team, just having their standard folks be able to integrate these things. And this was completely unheard of before. There's other challenges around like putting crypto in the balance sheet if you're a public company, maybe, and things like that, that they have all disappeared. So now, if you want to integrate stablecoin rails, it actually becomes extremely easy. It's like adding any other type of software. That's on the developer or company side. And then on the user experience side, like 3 years ago, you wanted to send a transfer, and then you're hit with like $5 in gas fees, and then transactions don't land, and the blockchain goes down, and there's like, okay, here's the passphrase, and there's this pop-up, and here's your address, it's 0x1234, and it's like, what is going on here, right? Especially if you're targeting maybe people in emerging markets, that becomes, or maybe the level of sophistication or the sophistication of their devices wouldn't allow for it before. Now all of that has disappeared, and you can have experiences like MoneyGram has done, or AirTM, that allows someone anywhere in the world to just use these apps, and it just looks like a normal app. You have a balance, it works. It just happens to work faster, cheaper, and better, right? And so when it comes to Stellar, I think on the blockchain side, I think number one, it's built in a way that allows these folks that may not be super crypto native to be able to talk to some of these primitives via also traditional APIs that don't require like so much knowledge of crypto. It's fast, low gas fees, but in addition to the technology, there's also the component of expertise, which you guys have been doing so much across emerging markets with so many people, and the whole package comes when you're building on Stellar, which is fantastic.
I paid Rodri. Look, I think MoneyGram and Stellar is, I think, a partnership that we've talked about, many folks have heard about. And one of the, I think, really cool things that we're all kind of circling around a little bit is this on the last mile question, just this idea to be able to cash out a digital asset into fiat currency, like literally within an agent network. And that's been a really powerful story. And we've been able to communicate about that quite a bit. I think what's really interesting, Josh and Rodri, you guys are now working together, which is really exciting. And you announced the launch of MoneyGram's new stablecoin powered cross-border payment experience. I would love to understand, and maybe for the audience, maybe you can talk a little bit about what that is, like specifically what you're doing, but how did it come together on Stellar, and what is your hope for how this can transform everyday payments with kind of that stablecoin and cash to crypto solution and beyond?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first and let me know. And so quickly, the solution that we have at MoneyGram is that for the receiver, if you think of a sender sending a remittance, then the receiver receiving the remittance, is allowing that receiver now to, let's say they were given a reference code to go pick up in cash, they can now choose instead to store that as a stablecoin USDC in a wallet, giving them the power to hold dollars, giving them the power to only take out the amount they want for security purposes, for inflation purposes, whatever they want, but giving that receiver all of a sudden control. I'm going to miss this timeline up a little bit, but we had this idea, I think, in May probably had the idea for 5 years preceding that, but we decided to do it in May. And then, honestly, I think Rodri's underselling Crossmint a little bit with on that former of like how to have developers go fast with not just APIs, but some of the direct embedded help that he provided. It took us 2 months to actually create that and be able to go live. And so we, to have that experience to see the adoption on the receive side has been a really special thing. And so right now we have live, and we still have one of the things that Raja alluded to is if you think of MoneyGram, we're kind of connected to everything. Cash out worldwide, direct deposit worldwide. If you want to put money in and out, if you just think about it as a network, we're sort of connected everywhere for that last mile. And so what we realized, if you think on and off ramps, we kind of have the on and off ramps. But now with the power of Stellar and Crossmint, we're able to offer stablecoin wallets where people can hold stablecoin, but also easily get back and forth to fiat.
Yeah, to me, I think there's one thing that just a more meta thought about the experience working with MoneyGram, which is that it's so fascinating to see one of the largest, more iconic financial institutions in the world that virtually everyone knows have this vision of what the future of money movement looks like and put together the right team and be able to move so fast, something that is like so deeply transformational that I think, in 3-4 years when we look back, number one, incredible to see, like this inspires so many other people to push similar use cases. And it's not only the impact that MoneyGram is having through their own, but like inspiring a new generation of companies and other financial institutions to move faster. And you guys have been at it together, both Stellar and MoneyGram for so long. But two, I think it's just going to be one of the coolest, stories about transformations that you've seen in financial institutions, be able to do so much so quickly and impacting the life of so many people. I'm just really excited for that, and it's been an honor working together.
Oh, no, likewise. I appreciate it. It's funny. I keep saying that it's going to seem really obvious. Like in 3 years, but like, yeah, of course, if you had MoneyGram, why don't you just add stablecoins in there? It's like, but it's a lot of work, but it's really cool to see the path that we're on.
Yeah, and I mean, MoneyGram is a 80-year-old iconic brand. I mean, it's to be able to see that acceleration now. I think it gives, hope to a lot of institutions who have been around for a long time doing it. I think just one very quick follow-up question. I know you guys launched initially in Colombia with this partnership. I mean, how's it going?
It's going great. We've got so we have a receiver experience that we've launched, and then within that, it used to basically, if you sent a remittance, the receiver didn't really even know it was MoneyGram. They would just go to the local thing to pick up. Mm-hmm. So now we've got receiver app, receiver experience, and then embedded within that is the stablecoin feature. And so we've got almost 100,000 like regular users of the receiver app today. And stablecoin is only in Colombia is gaining traction, growing 20% week over week. So we're seeing really great growth.
That's awesome. I'm really excited to see that, and of course, couldn't be more excited to kind of ride this rocket ship with you guys at a global scale. I'm going to shift over to something because I think, Rodri, you had alluded to kind of, I'll describe it as user experience. And Sarah, I'm just really curious from your perspective. You have come to Airtm as the CMO relatively recently, but when you have a mindset around like a great user experience, like what does that look like for everyday payments that involve stablecoins or blockchain rails? Would love to kind of get your perspective there.
Yeah. So our CEO, Ruben, he would say to receive global payments like a local global citizen, and that you can cash it out as if you were a first-class citizen of an economy that is globally connected. And what it really comes down to is speed and the predictability of the speed. And then something that you guys do for remittances as well is like making sure that you can, that you as the end user are empowered and you decide whether you hold you can earn digital dollars globally, and you can hold it in our US virtual account wallet, and you can decide how you move it and how you live with it locally, like full empowerment. And then obviously the component of trust and security, which goes back to predictability of payment. It's not just the speed, it's also how predictable is it? And that's where the 96% come in again, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious from all of your perspectives, I mean, what is the most, if you had to choose one, what's the most important? Is it lower fees? Is it faster settlement time? Or is it trust? Okay.
I choose a different one. It's predictability.
Okay.
But obviously, if there's no speed, then what's the point, right? Because predictability covers it, because it's also like I know when I'm going to get it, and I can trust it.
Yeah.
To me, it's probably security, because if there's no security, then everything else falls apart. If you, as a consumer or business app, are holding balances or moving money, and suddenly things goes out, then the whole thing is over, right? So it's maybe more of an enabler, but without it, nothing else matters. And then, in addition to that, maybe building on the previous question, to me, like people will not be thinking of like, oh, a stablecoin app or a crypto app. It's just like an app, right? And it works. It just happens to work faster. It happens to work better. But the UX has to be the same for all of these things to work.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with Crossmint, you've focused a lot on simplifying that UX to actually make it more available to the masses, which is really, really powerful. I think I kind of have internalized that one of the biggest friction points for like adding crypto payments for businesses and users is this user experience. But I'm curious. I mean, it sounds like there's some generalized agreement on that, but are we seeing these barriers starting to fall? Obviously, you guys are building some, but I mean, there's friction in a lot of places, right? I mean, where are we seeing the barriers fall?
Yeah, I think both Rodri and Airtm are addressing these, right? Like, again, this thing today, you still need to convert it back into the local economy and a local currency. So finding the seamless experience and becoming that stablecoin centric wallet that is basically making the end-to-end experience super seamless by plugging in various experiences and APIs. And that way making it the end-to-end experience smooth and reliable.
Yeah, I would agree. I'll do a compare and contrast. So MoneyGram had a U.S. account, where it was sort of a neobank in the U.S., and you signed up for a MoneyGram account, you could deposit funds. To do that integration was with a banking as a service provider, and then also a processor, and then you also have to do a direct deposit through them, and it was all of these things. And all of that was just the US. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, okay, let's also do this in Colombia and Mexico. One integration for each of those. Instead, with this, 90%, there's still localization. We still have to have the local rails for pay in and pay out and all that. But 90% is now done as opposed to 10% being done. So the idea of us now scaling worldwide, there's work, it's not done. There's work to do in each market, but the amount of work is so much less. And the reason I bring that up in this context is then you can focus on a great user experience, because you're not trying to get the basics of just the money being held and displayed and moved down.
Yeah, and so that is just for the primitive of holding funds, right? But then if in addition to that, then you want to offer other financial services and you have to do those across geographies, then you're basically, it's absolutely impossible to scale. And like now, thanks to the composability of crypto, you can plug in staking and yield, and maybe you add cards and you add like trading of tokenized stocks, and suddenly now someone in Colombia can buy Tesla stock, and it's just like so much easier to be like a fully fledged fintech app that otherwise would take like honestly decades. Even if you look at like the previous generation of fintech apps like the Revoluts and the Chimes of the world, they're still only live in some countries after over a decade of operations. And like now you can get this and you can deploy this and be live pretty much everywhere. There's obviously aspects of localization. The off-ramp and the liquidity fragmentation is a bit of a challenge that remains to be solved. But for the most part, apps look exactly like a normal fintech app. They just work better, it's cheaper, it's faster, and you get access to services that before just were not possible. And for the developers, you also unlock many more revenue streams that before also you just couldn't have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'd say, I love what you guys are saying, and I very much agree with it. When I think about user experience, I mean, there is so much innovation that is happening from builders in this room, folks who are listening to this. We talk about DeFi, and at different points, it can sound and feel a little complicated. When we talk about the global audience that we're actually trying to address, I think that has to be absorbed into a user experience that just makes sense, right? When we say lend, borrow, I can do that. I can do it from an app that is user-friendly, that obfuscates maybe some of like the security complexity that is in there, but still embeds it as well. So I think these are really, really important things. I think just kind of on that note, so we talked about a couple things. So when we think about building trust with everyday users, I'm really interested in what the most important pillars are. I know you talked about predictability. Rodri, you talked about, like this, I think you said some version of trust. But like, what about like regulation? What about interoperability? Are these important too, or what other pillars are there to trust that we might not have hit on yet?
I mean, to me, it comes down to the empowerment. I mean, giving them the power back of this is their money and that they own it and own the money. And how you do it is by they know when they receive it and they can hold and manage, move it as they want. And that's what our mission is, that anybody, anywhere in the world can earn globally, participate in the global economy, can hold the money, move it, and be the boss that they should be for their money.
I like that. That's like a really good tagline. Be the boss you should
I'm
be.
like putting the legal claim on it. That's mine. I actually came up with it on the fly, so it's mine.
Yes. Hashtag stellar. Okay.
Powered by
There we go.
Stella.
That's perfect.
Airtm at powered by Stella.
To me, maybe one way to think about it would be like a Maslow pyramid of needs of sort, where you have the basics, like, a normal, human Maslow pyramid of needs is like, well, you're alive, right? You're not dying, you're not sick. And like, here's like the same. You have like these enabler things that you just need them for it to work. Like things have to be secure, things have to be compliant. Like we saw what happened with like FTX collapse. Suddenly the whole world like went back like 5 years and like now no one wanted to touch crypto. And like now obviously that rebounded and like especially after Genius and so on, like is the hottest word in the world. And so I think like you have those like basic things that you need, and then after that is where you have to start thinking, okay, like is the UX better? Where like the things like interoperability that you need to fix, and they come little by little, but you need those fundamentals to be there for it to work.
Yeah, and I mean, some of those historical issues that we've seen, I think, have drawn some of the skeptics to say, hey, like this stuff is hype cycle. Is there actually something there? I mean, but I think what we're talking about is like there's a real world impact behind it here. I mean, what other kind of signals are you seeing that the real world impact attachment is actually happening?
Well, it feels like, so I haven't worked in crypto for the last 15 years, but I worked in remittances, which has been like right next to it. So people have been asking me my Bitcoin strategy for 15 years. And the reason I say it like that is like every other hype cycle has been about the Bitcoin price. It's been about, oh, my friend made money, I'm going to get into, oh, shoot, I should have bought more, and then, oh, it's going to... This is about this stablecoin thing, which is the same price. It's not speculative. It's finding these actual value adds. And if you go back to my settlement point earlier, where the money is sent, and then it's just there. No one's waiting to see if it's there. And so I think that we are like both consumer-facing and behind the scenes realizing real value, that if tomorrow Bitcoin dropped to zero, we would keep using stablecoin. So in that sense, for us, it's less about any other market and what they're doing, but rather the actual technology use case for us.
Yeah, well, I was facilitating a panel earlier today, and I think that's a really poignant comment there, which is there's cryptocurrency, but then there's like these other assets that will still retain value. And then we were talking about this in the context of like tokenized assets, right? So these assets, they have hard value, they have other things. And now more and more with some of the innovations, frankly, that you guys are doing together, you can actually move them like money, which is like very, very exciting as well. Look, I know we're starting to run out of time, but I'd love to know, like, what's one lesson from building in the space that's shaped about how you think about financial access and payments today? Maybe, Sarah, I can start with you.
You need to follow the user. And I think finance in general, I mean, I have a background in other companies in the space. It's really redefined bottoms up by the people. And that's also why stablecoin right now works, because it's getting the job done and solves the problem. And that's how I would look at it. It's really, and it's changing, because it's obviously influenced by politics, by all these different things, and also varies a little bit by market. But ultimately, it's you need to follow the user and don't forget the problem you're trying to solve and be the painkiller and don't outdate yourself.
I like the painkiller comment too.
I stole that from the book Build I told you about earlier. Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, maybe I'm saying the same thing. No, I think I think a lot about personalization.
Sarah's guns.
Yeah, Sarah's guns. Yeah, exactly. It's like we have so many customers. And I don't mean in quantity, I mean different kinds of customers, right? People, if you just think of like people sending to different countries, these are definitely different demographics. And so for us, and this is something we're not there yet on, honestly, we're trying to build towards, when you talk about trust, being there for that customer, appealing to that human and having the entire experience, whether it's the payment methods they want, how they want to send, how they want to track, the messaging we send and the language we use. So I think there's like, we've been talking about personalization in tech for 10, 20 years. I mean, that's not new, but there's new ways to do it and to stay super relevant where it's with the platitude, the payments are always local. I think for us, it's really like taking it to that next degree where consumers are never content. So what's the next level of personalization where you can actually be there for your customer? Was that the same thing as you said?
It's okay.
Always steal from Sarah. She's very smart.
To me, I think the most incredible thing is, like, it's easy to get stuck in abstractions and talk about like, oh, these trends and this impact and so on. But it always comes down to the personal stories when you're on the ground building and you see people using the products and the impact that it's having. Like we have one of our employees is in Colombia and her mother lives there, and she sometimes comes to the US, makes money here and wants to send it back home, and then now the mother started using the MoneyGram app for the remittances, and you hear the story and like the problems she was having before and the new stuff, and it just makes it so real. And it's so easy to get stuck on Twitter and like on these like charts. But then you talk to, we have another employee in Argentina who before to get paid is like when you put everything together, 7% fees, then goes back and puts it back into dollars because otherwise inflation. And like now it's like gets the money instant, like no fees, and you hear the stories, the struggles, and now you see the impact that we all as together as the industry are having, and that is a thing, the coolest, most incredible thing, and the thing that provides the biggest learnings.
Awesome, amazing. We're almost out of time, but this is kind of my thing, so I'm going to hit you guys with like quick fire round robin. 5 questions. Ready? Okay. Hotter market in 2026, remittances or tokenized assets? Sarah.
Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
Hotter market in 2026, remittances or tokenized assets?
Tokenized assets, sorry.
Remittances, obviously.
Remittances, obviously.
That's why I picked the other one, just to challenge.
I like it. Okay, cash in 10 years, gone or reborn?
Gone.
Reborn.
Gone in some markets, reborn in others.
It's called, the both choice. The canonical both choice in an AD question. Okay, who wins adoptions? Brands users know or protocols they don't see?
I find it interesting that I'm the leader here and always have to go first.
Yeah.
What was the second option?
Brands users know or protocols they don't see?
Probably protocols they don't see. No, actually, I changed my mind. Brands people know. It's not that these have to be global brands, but at the end of the day, they need to be able to trust. And the actions of a brand are what makes a brand. And so I picked that one. As a CMO, I should.
Yeah, okay.
I actually agree. I think brand, this is something that I didn't quite realize till getting to a place like MoneyGram, cuts through so much that, and actually as technology gets more important or more better and better, it's like so hard to cut through the noise. So I know it's a longer answer than you wanted, but brand.
So is the question who wins or who?
Yeah, who wins adoption? Brands or protocols they don't see?
As a protocol that people don't see, it hurts me to say this, but I would say brands.
Okay, 2 quick final ones. I'm going to go in reverse order. If you could delete one fee forever, would it be exchange fees or withdrawal fees?
Exchange fees, because in the midterm, withdrawals doesn't exist. Everything stays in stablecoins.
I like that. Exchange fees.
Yeah.
For me also, because we are a global economy. We are a global world now, and this is so integrated, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Final question. Stellar House or Soho House?
Stellar House.
What is Soho House? Stellar House.
Stella House.
You guys aced the final question. Thank you, everybody.